Hello everybody, this is Catholic Dad, episode number 146, Communist Catholics. What do I mean by that? And I don't mean the Jesuits, everybody. I'm kidding about that. Well, anyway, well, what is a communist? A communist is somebody essentially wants complete obliteration of private property rights and freedom and liberty, and then where everybody kind of communally lives, and they perfect the economy. It's kind of an economic movement where everybody has ample, everybody has what they need. Like they all have housing, they all have healthcare, they all have, and they believe that they have the capacity to perfect society and make a utopia on earth, essentially a Garden of Eden on earth. Problem is that's not possible, and it's never possible, and that's why communism fails every single time. Every single time it's tried, what happens? The countries get depleted and they fall to complete socialistic and communistic tyranny, and eventually when people oppose it because they're starving and they feel oppressed, then they get ground up in meat grinders, and that's like the Gulag archipelagos, and the 50 million dead under Stalin and the 65 million dead under Mao Zedong. And then, well, anyway, you get the point that when you strive for utopianism, you end up with increasingly numbers of dead people. This is a problem. So why do I say Catholic communists? Well, it's an ideology. It's an ideology of you can find perfection on this earth. You can't. It's impossible. And so, but there are Catholics out there that want to perfect everything in their faith and in their belief system. And I actually gave a video, number 130, what's wrong with traditional Catholics. Well, they're kind of utopian about their faith, like we can perfect this, we can make it perfect, and what we're going to have to do is kind of break some eggs in the making of the perfect liturgy. And what they do is they kind of withdraw from society, and they try to make their communities as, essentially like completely perfect Catholic communities. Problem is you can't do that because what you're going to have to do is tear down the existing Catholic communities to build yours. And, well, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll make your own Catholic community, right? And it will be perfect in every way, but the problem is you have to go in the world and you have to engage the world. You can't live this monastic life in your own Catholic little paradise, your little Garden of Eden. And even your Garden of Eden is imperfect on its own anyway because you can't get there. We as a Catholic community, Catholic means universal. We're also supposed to be part of the same church. And I understand that there's different movements within Catholicism, there always has. But the people that are the utopian Catholics, that we can make the perfect worship no matter what, these people risk alienating the rest of the Catholic communities, right? And I've already said they're kind of weak in all 6 of the virtues, but they're kind of, they're strong in 6 of the virtues, but they're kind of weak in the hope virtue. And that's one that doesn't inspire other people to be Catholic. And what is the point of our religion? It's to evangelize people, to bring people to Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, to get as many people to live the sacramental life so we can bring as many people to the Lord as possible. And being utopian about your belief system and completely uncompromising and unwavering in terms of your liturgical practices, this risks alienating people, and it risks making the communities Gnostic, I said. That's where heresy can come from, or schism, or so on and so forth, where you push so hard where you get pushed out of the Catholic faith. Now, the traditionalists and the utopian Catholics, or the communist Catholics, I call them, just because they're utopian. They're not communists, by the way. They have a lot to teach because they're so principled on their rubrics, and they're so principled on their traditional liturgies. They can teach you stuff, and you can learn a lot of things from them. One of my mentors in my life was Lefebvre, who was like a schismatic priest with the SSPX, or a bishop, I'm sorry. He wrote a book, they had him uncrowned. It was probably one of the pinnacles of like building my faith, These people have a lot to teach, but a warning to communistic Catholics that there is no utopian Catholicism. It does not exist, and the harder you try to find it, you'll probably won't. And that's not to say don't be strong in your faith and don't be dedicated to your faith, But utopianism can lead to many, many, many things that are not necessarily good. I mean, communism on its face, it's like, hey, guess what? We're going to feed everybody, give everybody health care, pensions, and education. Oh, well, that's a great goal, right? But it's not a great goal because it's utopian. It's not possible. And so just something to think about. And I'm not trying to convince anybody one direction or the other in here. I mean, if anything, I think we all need to be more traditional in terms of most Catholics out there. But the ones on the fringe, the utopians that think they can perfect their faith and they don't expose their family to other Catholics because they're trying to perfect it in their children, they risk certain things. That this extreme utopianism and Catholic communism is what I like to call it. It can lead to schism. It can lead to Gnosticism. It can lead to fragmentation of Christianity, and it can also lead to the alienation of the faith of your children, which that really, because they're going to go into this world one day and they're going to be like, boy, my parents raised me funny, ha ha. Like the Amish have a big problem with this. Their kids break away from the faith as soon as they get a chance to taste freedom. And so you kind of have to raise your kids realistically in this world, because they're going to be confronted with the real world one day. And if you paint a dream world for them, and then they go into the real world, they may fall, and they may fall into apostasy. They might. And in fact, a lot of traditional kids do that. And so don't be utopian about your Catholicism. Don't be communistic about your Catholicism, because you can't get there. You can't find the Garden of Eden. You got to be completely practical and pragmatic, and you have to live a sacramental life, and only then will you instill a faith that's based upon reason with your children. Being too perfect in your faith risks the alienation of a lot of people, other Catholics, and particularly your kids' souls. This is a Catholic Dad making you think about it. You live a sacramental life and pray the daily rosary. God bless you all.